What's going on, guys? Anastacio here with FlytPath.com. Now in this video, I just want to go over 10 quick tips so you can get the most out of your new DJI Mavic Mini. And if you guys are new to my channel, my name is Anastacio. I do a lot of drone tech tips, tutorials, and product reviews right here on this channel. So if that's something that interests you, make sure you guys consider subscribing and also hitting that bell to be notified when I post new videos. One thing I was able to do in between some locations is actually recharge the battery that's in the drone by using an external battery bank. All you have to do is plug this in to the back of the drone, turn it on, and as you can see here, it's powered up there, and it is actually charging up the Mini right there. So in case you're not able to get to a wall outlet, of course you can just use a little power bank, charge it up while you are on the go. Now if you bought the FlyMore combo, it comes with this hub as well as 3 batteries. So of course when you're charging it up, all you have to do is put all 3 batteries in here, plug it into the wall, and you're able to then charge up those 3 batteries. But what's great about this thing is that not only can you use this to charge all 3 batteries, you can actually use this kind of as like a power bank as well. So if you want to plug in on the side here, there's an actual USB plug. If you have your phone or your remote that needs charge, my iPad, and I'll just unplug it and plug it back in, and there you go. So now your batteries are actually kind of used as a power bank in case you're low on battery on your remote or your device. Now if you guys seen some of my previous videos when I'm flying with something like this type of remote, luckily the remote form factor is the same on the DJI Mavic Mini, which means my accessories like this Mav mount or my Polar Pro mount actually does fit on this remote control. Now here we have the Mav mount. This is actually holding a full-size iPad Pro. I normally don't fly with the Pro. I'll normally fly with my iPad Air 2. As you can see here, it is nice and stable. This is actually the Mav mount system that's holding my iPad Pro, and it's also hooked up here with this cable straight to that factory plug here. And just to let you guys know, on the bottom of this remote, there is no full-size USB or no micro USB at the bottom like there is on some of the other remotes. Here, it's actually just using the factory micro USB plug out into whatever device you're using. Here I'm using an iPad, so here it's going from a micro USB out into a Lightning. But the thing is, you can't use a standard micro USB. It has to be an OTG cable out. Here I got this cable, which is an OTG out into a Lightning cable, and if you guys are interested in this type of setup with the Mav mount as well as the cable, I'll make sure that information is down below in the video description. I really like it. I normally don't fly with a Pro. I normally fly with an iPad Air 2, but just want to show you for demonstration purposes that this mount is well built to hold something like this, which is really cool. Of course, I'll leave all the information as far as the mounts that are available for this remote control as well as the cable that I'm using down below in the video description. And now that this is actually hooked up and on, it's actually connected to the Mavic Mini, as you can see right here. I'll just go to my next tip, which is actually controlling the gimbal with your device, not by the scroll wheel on the remote control, but just by tapping and holding on the screen. So if I actually tap and hold on the screen just like that, you can actually tilt the gimbal up and down just like that, pressing it down, and then I can bring the camera back up, and that is actually adjusting the angle of the camera itself by pressing and holding on the screen, just like so, as you can see. Now something like this is very useful if you wanted to do a nice even pan and you might not have full control over this little wheel right here, which sometimes can get a little tricky. You can actually just press and hold it, and then you can of course hold it down just like that, and you can get a nice smooth pan if you don't want to use that wheel on the back of the remote control. Now because the form factor is all very similar to some of the older ones like the Air and the Mavic Pro, a lot of these older accessories that I have too also fit. So if you didn't want to take off your remote control sticks right there, they actually have a lot of these type of accessories just to cover that up. That way you just pop that on here, throw that into your bag, so at least your sticks are protected in case anything is banging on them. Or things like this, like Ghost Scope has their remote control cases, so just so you guys know too, this works as well. Just pop that in there. There's actually space up top here for your remote control sticks to be protected. Zip that up, and then throw this in your bag. So just to let you guys know, since the form factor is very similar as the older drones, a lot of these accessories too will also work with this remote controller for the Mavic Mini. Next tip I like to do, and I do this with all of my apps as far as the drone interface goes, and that is turning on your grid lines. Now grid lines are definitely something you're gonna wanna use if you wanna make sure you have a nice leveled horizon, if you wanna use the rule of thirds within your photo or video. So in order to get to the grid lines in the app, all you have to do is go over to Camera, and then down below it'll say Advanced Settings. Click on Advanced, And then while you're here, it'll say histogram, and the second line is grid lines. You're gonna wanna turn all of those on. So I actually turn on the diagonals as well as the horizontal and vertical, and I also turn on the center point. And once you do that, now you have all of these lines here on your screen. That way it helps you find your center point whenever you're gonna go fly, as well as also helps you line up your rule of thirds if you wanna do something like that for your composition. Now, next tip is actually taking control over your exposure in photo mode. Now, as of right now, the app does not support manual control in video mode, but in photo mode it does, which means you just have to switch over into photo mode right here and press photo. And once you're in photo mode, at the very bottom now where it says auto, click that and it'll now switch over to manual. Now here in manual, you're able to adjust things like your shutter speed as well as your ISO. Of course, you can't change your aperture. It is a fixed aperture on the Mavic Mini, but at least you're able to now change your shutter speed right here. So the one thing that's gonna be good, of course, which I like to do, is long exposure photography. I can't wait until they come out with some filters. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of companies already that are in the works of making filters for this thing, but at least you know you have full control over photos in the app, which means you can now do stuff like half a second, 1 second long photo exposure. So hopefully they'll be able to do some sort of manual controls in video. But as of right now, the next tip I would say is take control over your photos by going into manual mode on photo. And the next tip is something I actually do on pretty much all my SD cards, and that's actually add a little piece of tape to it for two reasons. First one is, of course, just to know that I have an SD card in there, because of the fact that this doesn't have internal memory. If you don't have an SD card in the Mavic Mini, you're pretty much out of luck. You won't be able to capture any photos or video. So the first thing I do is normally when I fly it or in any of my drones, to see that flap coming out the back, I know that I do have an SD card in there. And the second reason is, if you guys have seen some of that stuff where I normally will have issues with my SD card being stuck, whether it's my action cameras or even some of my drones, my last resort is normally to then pull this out. Now, you normally don't ever want to do that because it's actually spring loaded. So you want to first and foremost try to use your fingernail, use your, the end of a plug or something like that to pop that out. But there's definitely some times where even that spring gets caught. So at least you know that with a tab, you can actually pull the SD card out. Now my next tip goes back to the remote control, and it deals with these sticks. Now the Mavic Mini has a new stick. Well, I mean, it's the same kind of form factor as some of the older ones like the Mavic Air and the Mavic 2. They have these little screw on and off sticks. But the thing with the Mavic Mini is that this one just feels really weak and plasticky, and for some reason the rubber moves a little bit more on these than it does on something like my Mavic Air. What I found is that I actually took off the ones from my Mavic Air and put them onto the Mavic Mini remote, and they do fit and they work fine, and it gives you a little bit more support because it is aluminum versus here it's plastic. The thing I did realize though is that I tried putting the Mavic Mini ones onto the Mavic Air and they don't fit. The reason is the actual ring is a little bit thicker because it's plastic. So it's a little bit thicker on the Mavic Mini, so it doesn't slide into the hole on the Mavic Air remote control. But the Mavic Air remote control sticks do fit onto the Mavic Mini remote, just like that. So if you want to upgrade your sticks, know that this thinner aluminum does fit onto the Mavic Mini remote control. And now you have just a little bit better feeling sticks on your Mavic Mini remote. And for my last tip, as you can see right here, the cage for the Mavic Mini. Now, if you're buying this for your son, your daughter, or another kid, and you want to protect that $500 investment, and I say $500 because if you buy the Fly More combo, it comes with this cage, the extra batteries, the hub, and things like that. So if you want to protect that investment, definitely put the cage on if you're gonna practice or fly this indoors. This is actually a lot better than I've seen some of the other ones. This is not just a prop guard. This is actually a cage, which is really good. Before, prop guards would just protect you from hitting the sides, and here it actually will protect the top. So if you fly this indoors, full throttling that thing up, then at least it'll hit the ceiling, but it'll still protect the propellers from hitting. Also, if you do use the cage, there's a switch in the app itself that you're gonna wanna turn on. It does change some of the flight characteristics of the Mavic Mini, so make sure that you are hitting that switch on in the application itself. if you are using this cage. And there it is, guys, my first 10 quick tips and tricks for the DJI Mavic Mini. But as always, if you guys got some value from my video, a big like would be much appreciated. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell to be notified when I post new videos. Also, check out my Mavic Mini playlist above. I'll also have it down below. Thanks for watching. This is Ultra Stasio at FlytPath.com. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.